Hey guys, welcome back to Physionic. Now today's video is going to be a little bit unique. It's going to be a little different than some of my other videos, mainly because I'm kind of harkening back to a type of video that I used to do, which was called off the cuff. And really this was just kind of me just talking about something. But this particular video is going to be a little bit of a history lesson. Now you might not be a big fan of history, but history really is just a bunch of stories about our human history, about our human past. And I think that's really fascinating. So in this video, what we're going to actually go into is the history, some history of nutrition science, as well as experimental physiology. Now, I will say that this is, in certain ways, a bit gruesome of a story. And if you are an animal lover, you may not want to watch the video, or at least I'm just going to warn you that it's not the happiest of stories. But it is an interesting story, and it is a vital story to understanding the nutrition science history and how we came to some of the regulations, the FDA regulations that we have today. So, with that introduction over, let's go ahead and jump into the story of François Magendie. I'd like to tell you about the first person and the first experiment to determine that the nutrient completeness of food is necessary for our health. But before we go into the story, we should understand that our body needs certain nutrients, and without those nutrients, we get sick, and then we die. But before the 1800s, we weren't clear on that. We just knew we needed food to live. However, we also knew that the body's filled with particular substances, like nitrogen. Looking back, it may seem silly since nitrogen is found in protein-rich foods, and we know protein is necessary for our survival. But just a few centuries ago, we didn't even know that. However, in 1816, that all changed. A surgeon by the name of François Magendie entered the scene of physiology and medicine as an instructor in Paris, France. He was a gifted surgeon, so gifted, in fact, people from across Europe came to study under him. However, due to his aggressive personality and clashes with other surgeons at his institution, Magendie quit his post in 1813. And opened a private practice where he continued private lessons and practiced as a physician. Soon after, his intrigue in the body took a commanding role in furthering physiological and nutrition science history. He took up experimental physiology as his career moving forward. A few years later, he conducted the experiment we are interested in here. Prior to this experiment, it was believed by many that nitrogen found in the body was somehow added in some form of digestive process to low nitrogenous foods by capturing atmospheric nitrogen. Magendie then ran the simplest of experiments to see if this could be true. I'll take a moment to warn animal lovers here. This is sad. He simply took dogs and fed them a food that lacked nitrogen. He tried it with sugar first. The dog ate the sugar regularly for 2 weeks, maintaining weight. Then, after the initial 2 weeks, it began losing weight and getting sick. And after 1 month, it died. So clearly, the animal couldn't survive on sugar alone. But then he thought, what if he tried it with fat? So he did. the same result. So he then concluded that it was necessary for an animal to consume protein to live. And through the digestion and the absorption of protein, we take in the nitrogen found in our body. His crude experiment is part of the beginning of our nutrition research literature we use to recommend dietary guidelines today. His research was among the first to generalize animal models to understand the mammalian body and applying that to humans. So, while his methods were crude, likely inhumane, he did supply us with a backbone with which to understand the function and health of our body. There we have it. That's the story. That's the history of how we really came to, at least partly come to, our nutrition labels, and how we're able to understand that we need certain ingredients, if you want to put it that way, in our body, and those come from food sources that are typically, at least in this example, meat-based, or, well, not necessarily meat-based, but they have to be protein-based. So segmenting that, making sure that you get carbohydrates, fats, and protein, specifically those last two, is really important. And this was one of the key experiments that allowed us to understand that. Well, with that said, I hope that you really enjoyed the video, and I hope that I have the pleasure of seeing you in the next one. Have a wonderful day. See ya.